We're live, boys.
Good day, guys.
Hola.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks for checking out what we do. We appreciate it.
Working on Instagram here, almost up on both.
All right. Looks like Chase is good to go. He's got his job all figured out. By the way, hashtag no chase.
No promises.
Believe it or not, guys, we're going to have some t-shirts, hashtag no chase. If you want to get on that, then send your information in and we will send you some shirts. You have to log in live on Instagram to get those, though. Today, we're going to talk about how to adjust your shocks once you've got them on the car. And that entails ride heights, crossovers, high-low speed compression, and rebound. Now, a lot of this stuff overlaps each other. Some of it can be a little complicated, but it's not that hard if you use some visual aids. So we took a minute and we actually cut out a shock therapy. I don't know, kind of looks like a Turbo S. I'm going with 4-seat wheelbase Turbo S right there. And I'm thinking that might be a 10s 35 on, of course, a method wheel. So we have visual aids today, guys. But let's start off with the order in which you should always adjust your stuff. And this goes for anyone, whether you have a completely stock suspension system on really any UTV, or if you've got a completely modified version, say, for instance, we've got our spring kit, internal valving, and all that. Everything I'm about to talk about pretty much coincides with all of it. The first thing you should always do is check ride heights, irregardless stock spring or aftermarket spring kit. Ride heights for us should always be checked with the driver in the car. Now, ride heights vary from vehicle to vehicle. You're going to see like Generals and Rangers are all going to be sitting around the 13-inch ride height range, and you're going to see some of the bigger sport UTVs like 33s or 32s on a Can-Am X3 is going to be around 16 or 17 inches of ground clearance. That all varies. If you guys want to know what we suggest, look at our instructions on YouTube or on our site, and it'll give you all of the numbers that we would like to see you run. But the basics are, adjust that ride height, make sure that you've got it where it needs to be, either according to our instructions or according to everybody around you with stock cars. Make sure you do it with you in the vehicle. The next thing that you do is check the crossover height. Now, crossover on the shock, here's a shock with no spring. These are crossover rings. We've talked about them a lot. You guys probably know all about them. I'm not going to go into everything about crossover rings again, but when a coil spring's in this position and you've got a spring divider below it and the car is sitting at ride height with you in the vehicle, crossover rings should have a gap from the bottom of the crossover to what would be the top of the plastic spring divider in the front of the vehicle, about 1 to 1.5 inches. In the back of the vehicle, about 2 to 2.5 inches. Just depends on the make and model. We suggest different measurements according to different cars.
Just real quick, ride height with all passengers in the vehicle or just the driver?
We suggest just the driver. The reason is that the majority of, here's what I'd like to see you do. You run the average amount of people that you run in the car. And if you didn't hear that, the question was, do you set your ride height up with everybody in the car or just the driver? Most of our customers are 2 guys in the car all the time, or husband and wife, and we would like to set you up with just the driver. But if you're husband, wife, 2 kids, and you're that way 90% of the time, then set it up for all 4, or set it up for 3 of you. That way when you've got 2 in the car, it's not that bad. When you've got 4 in the car, it's not that bad. Kind of an average of your weight. That's what we would shoot for. Just throw out some questions, Mitch. I'm going to keep on going into the adjustments. Yeah. So once you have ride height set, once you have your crossover ring measurements set, then we're going to get into adjusters. All right, so here's a basic QS3 adjuster on a Fox shock. This is a 3-position adjuster. If it was in the car, this would be all the way soft, medium, and firm. This adjuster is adjusting both high and low speed at the same time. High speed adjustment, let's just look at this multiple adjuster here, which is a DSC or dual compression adjuster. The adjuster on the outside is high speed. The adjuster on the inside is low speed. High speed compression relates to high shaft speeds. Now, that doesn't mean that you're driving fast. It has nothing to do with vehicle speed. The more the shaft moves, the higher speed that is. So this outside nut basically is going to control the biggest hits. Big whoops, jump landings, and G-outs. So if you can bottom the car out in any of those big areas, you're going to take this big nut, You're always going to turn it clockwise. Righty-tighty, stiffens the system. The little adjuster is low speed. Low speed is the body movements, small chop and small chatter where the shaft isn't moving very far. It can move fast, but it's not moving very far. So I would say 6-inch rock and smaller. Also, the body movements in the car that are almost exactly like an old Cadillac with no shocks on it or worn out shocks, where you're driving the car and it's constantly moving all the time. Maybe a lot of body roll to it, a lot of front to back. That body movement is this small adjuster. As you turn this small adjuster in, those body movements will start to settle. No longer is it as body. You turn it a little bit further, about a 1/4 inch or a 1/4 of a turn to 1/2 a turn at a time. All of a sudden that body movement settles. It doesn't have boat to it anymore. You turn it another 1/4 to 1/2 a turn. All of a sudden you start feeling the chop. You've gone too far. Now you can back that off, back to where you used to be, and leave that low speed adjuster alone. Basically, body movements, chop and chatter. Hopefully you guys got that. Any questions, Mitch?
How do I get a discount? What can I say when I go to Glamis on October to do all my shocks on my Can-Am?
In Glamis, we don't give any discounts because it costs us a ton of money to be there. The one thing that we don't do is raise the price to be there. The prices in Glamis are exactly the same as they are at the shop or on the website. So unfortunately, no discounts out there because it costs us a lot. If you get on this feed and go live, we're going to give you a shirt. We're going to give out some discount codes in the future. You're going to get some discounts that way. If you are a first responder and can prove it, then we're going to give you a discount for that. So I would suggest you get this all done before we go out to Glamis if you can.
I got Esteban 26 TP. Where can I get bump stops online?
Bump stops, if you mean UTVs, they don't exist. If you're looking for trucks or class 1s or 10s, you can buy them from anybody. It's going to be Fox, King, mostly are going to have external bump stops. So maybe clarify that a little bit. Mitch, can you grab that rack for me?
Yeah.
So this adjuster, we just pull out of a shock. It's nice and oily, so I'm going to get that cleaned up because if we go over to the board, I'm going to get it messy. Now let's go back to, after your question, we'll go back to compression adjuster.
Mega Desert Diesel, where's the fancy little tool for doing these adjustments? Such a great idea.
Oh man, have you got a keychain laying around, Mitch?
I don't actually.
Let's see if you can have one of the guys grab one really quick and we'll show everybody with the one that we made. It's not on the site, but we should probably put it back on there. We'll cover that in a little bit, Mega. Back to compression adjusters. The little adjuster is low speed, chop, chatter, body movements. Outside nut right here is high speed. It's going to be big hits, giant whoops, jump landings, and G-outs, washouts, stuff that's going to bottom the car out. As you start to turn this outside nut right hand or clockwise, and these do say on them which direction. It says it's going to be stiffer if you do go clockwise. Clockwise, about a 1/4 to 1/2 a turn at a time. You'll find that if this was all the way soft and you were bottoming the car out, about 1/2 a turn to a turn in, all of a sudden it may not bottom the car out anymore. Maybe it takes 2 full turns to get it to that point where the car doesn't bottom out in the biggest hits. But just keep turning this high-speed compression knob in until it stops bottoming out. Now, remember that these adjusters should be within the range to control the way you drive. If you turn this all the way in and it doesn't stop the bottoming out, there's a couple things you should look at. One, make sure your ride height's good, because if the ride height's low, it's going to bottom out really easy and this adjuster isn't going to fix it. If your crossover ring is set too high and it's not engaging the spring early enough, you could bottom the car out even though you have all the adjustment in it. Tire pressure. If you're in the dirt and you're running low tire pressure, you could bottom the car out by squishing the sidewall down when you hit a big hit and just drag the skid plate, not even use all the suspension. So make sure your air pressure's up. In the dunes, make sure you're running 10 to 14 pounds in an STU, 12 to 16 pounds of air pressure in a scat. That will give you the sidewall support in a G-out to stop it from squishing the sidewall and dragging the skid plate, which also, if you have a low air pressure and you drag the skid plate into dunes, basically you've got 3 or 4 inches of shock shaft that's never used because it squishes the sidewall, loses ground clearance, drags the skid plate, and that last 3 or 4 inches of shock shaft is your bump stage. That's the biggest, highest resistance portion of the shock. It's going to stop you from bottoming. So air pressure is super important. Here's an adjuster that we made. This guy adjusts your high-speed compression. It adjusts your low speed. It also adjusts rebound. We haven't got there yet, but there's a rebound adjuster. And the all-important beer opener.
Hey.
At any moment in time, because while this is on your keychain, one of the smartest things you could do is stop and have a beer. No, maybe not, I'm kidding. But we do have those. We'll put them up on the website. You guys can buy them. They're not going to be very much money. I think they're like $9 or $10. So
Rex Miller 1223, are these adjustments the same on a walker on a Polaris?
So a good question. The question is, are these the same adjustments on a walker on a Polaris? On a walker, you only have one adjustment on the compression. On a standard walker, you have only one compression adjuster. Typically, it's going to be, is it 22 or 24 clicks? I forget. But somewhere in the 22, 24 range.
Yeah,
is it 24? 24. So 24 clicks of compression, you're adjusting high speed. So it's going to be bottoming out, G-out resistance. That's all you get. You don't have rebound, you don't have low speed. On a walker velocity, you get high and low speed compression on certain models, not all of them. So you can adjust that boatiness, chop and chatter, you can adjust big hits, but you do not get rebound adjustment on any walker. That's one of the reasons why we prefer Foxes. So since went into rebound, let's get away from compression, let's go into rebound. So most shocks, if they have a rebound adjuster, is going to be on the bottom loop of the shock. Coil spring's right above this. This is mounted to the lower control arm, upper control arm, or trailing arm. This adjustment does the same thing as compression, but in reverse. As you start turning this in, let's imagine that you hit something real big and the shock is compressed, okay? The extension of the shock being pushed out by coil spring and helped by wheel and tire weight, this extension is rebound. How slow it rebounds or how fast it comes back out is adjustable by this knob right here. As you start turning this in, it will slow the rebound down. If you were to leave this all the way loose, then this will come out very, very quickly. Now, there is a point where too fast is a problem on rebound. There's a point where too slow is a problem on rebound. It's one of the hardest things for us to explain to customers how to adjust, but we'll get to that. If you guys have any more questions, shoot. If not, I'm going to go to the board and let's do some visual aids and basically show this car through whoops.
Yeah, I got one from Brandon J. Zogleman.
Brandon, how's it going?
If I already got springs but haven't put them on, but I'm planning on doing the internals also, should I just wait to put the springs on?
You know what? Or if you're doing this at home, go ahead and throw the springs on, man. Go enjoy the car. Put some miles on it. That way you have an idea what the spring kit gave you for an improvement. And when we do the internals, you're going to get a kick out of the improvement that gives you as well. Or if you don't want to put the effort in, keep them and get the shocks to us as fast as you can. We'll knock them out so you can go use the car again.
Tim Guerrero, 22. He's new to the sport. He asked, what Can-Am dealers do you recommend in Phoenix?
So Can-Am's going to be Ride Now, Nash Power Sports, and Adrenaline. If you look up those three, you'll find locations near you. I would suggest that you go and talk to all those guys because we deal with all of them and they're great. You might just find a personal preference that fits you.
Okay, cool. Israel Omri. In some shocks, you can see some rub marks in the body of the shock from the spring. For example, Fox X2 on a YXZ. So
all shocks will have rubbing on the body. All spring dividers will rub the body and will rub through the spring or rub through the threads on the shock body. Depending on how much dirt and sand is in between that divider as it travels up the shock, that's basically sandpaper and it's always going to have rub marks. If the coil spring itself is hitting the shock body, then try to jack the car all the way up, take the two coil springs and spin them on the plastic divider that separates the two by 90 degrees. That should straighten the divider out another direction and will keep the spring from being as bowed as it probably is in order to hit that shock body. So try that.
C_E_Williamson. Can I make these adjustments on the fly or should it be jacked up?
So you can make the adjustments on this stuff on the fly. When you say on the fly, I'm assuming you mean stop, adjust it, and get back in the car. Yeah, you don't have to jack the car up to do any of this. Ride heights are a lot easier to do if you have the car jacked up to adjust the upper preload collar that's holding the spring in place. So ride heights, I would tell you jack the car up to make this adjustment, but every other adjustment in the shock, compression, rebound, crossover ring, all of those can be done by stopping, adjusting, and going right back in the car. On the fly, if you mean literally driving, the only way you're going to do that is if you already have a Polaris with dynamics, or if you get IQS from us, which is an electronic conversion for a normal compression adjuster. Now, if you're looking right there, there's about 120 IQS kits in stock. So we can put them on any car, Polaris, Can-Am, Yamaha, Honda, Textron. Those are the ones we've tested so far. But that's the only way that you can adjust this while you're driving the car.
Real quick too, Justin, 150 King _B, just for 100% playtime, Can-Am Turbo RR Max or two-seater and why? Just curious on an opinion from somebody who has a lot of experience.
So I prefer the long wheelbase cars when you're going in the rough, like desert, whoops, things like that. The wheelbase is amazing when it comes to hauling ass through rough stuff. It's nicer. But in the dunes, I think maybe the nimbleness of a two-seater is more fun. And if you're rock crawling or trail riding, then the shorter two-seat wheelbase car is a better fit for the tight stuff. Certainly in rock crawling it is. Now we race a two-seater, so we go through the rough stuff fast in that. It just doesn't handle as well as the long wheelbase cars, but the only reason we don't run a four-seater in our desert racing is because of the extra weight. As a matter of fact, we're building a new car now strictly to drop weight off the car, and to go long wheelbase would add at least another 200 pounds. So play, desert, four-seater. Play, dunes, and trail, two-seater.
Cool.
Yeah, I definitely want to go into a little bit more of your brown snake drawings here, Justin.
Hashtag no chase. This is a movement, people. We need your help to get hashtag no chase going. That way maybe we can get Chase to leave someday.
Yeah, hashtag no chase.
All right. So if you guys have tuned in late, want to let you know before we go to the board, we're talking about compression, rebound adjustments on shocks so you can tune your car to work better through the rough and anywhere else that you're at. So we're about to go to the board and kind of show cars going through the whoops so you get a feel for what to change. But before that, Mitch, you had a question.
I got a bunch, but let's do one more here before we go into that. Bad habit off-road racing, or off-roading, sorry. Do you guys do RIS on the weekend? Going to AZ on Thursday, can you do the RIS same day so I can use it all weekend?
So the answer on the weekend, no. The answer on same day, yes. But we always do that with an appointment. We're always about 2 or 3 weeks out. You're going to have to call and set that appointment up in advance. Had you done that and you were booked for Thursday, you could have brought the car in that morning, got done, and picked it up on Thursday afternoon and had the weekend. But you're going to have to plan it ahead when it comes to our work.
On that same topic, real quick too, if you make an appointment with us and come to our shop, what's the turnaround time?
Turnaround time with an appointment, same day. Drop it off in the morning, pick it up that day. We are very proud of that. No cars stay overnight. Cool. Whoops. All right, guys, here's a Shocky Mobile. We're kind of thinking, like we said in the beginning, that might be a Turbo S, maybe, 4-seat wheelbase. Yeah, and we're guessing it's probably got like 3 guys in it. All right, we're going with 3 guys. Got some Tensors on a method wheel. I'm kind of thinking this is badass, and I got a new career in artist stuff. I'm thinking I can nail this stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. Imagine the dirt or my brown snakes right here, according to Chase, hashtag no chase. These are giant whoops. And this tire is on the ground, and you're jamming through here, and the car does not move. And the tire is constantly on the ground. You might be getting ahead of my race car, but hey, this is just about as good as Gumby, graphics right now. Okay, what I just did is perfect suspension through whoops. This tire is following the ground at all times. The car is not moving. Let's start over. Car comes into the whoops. Tire's off the ground in the bottom. It doesn't fall all the way out. Comes up, lands, kind of hurts when it hits. Doesn't kick the car, but the tire is staying up a really long time and kind of smacking the face of these whoops. What that means is the rebound is too slow. This tire is not falling out fast enough, so it is not following the ground. It does what's called packing. As it comes up, it stays up too long. The tire is packed up in there, and eventually it falls out. This is a symptom of having too much rebound in the car. So you would take the rebound adjuster and you would adjust it counterclockwise to speed the system up. Once you've done that, let's say you take a turn out of it and you come back through the whoops and you're watching the system, it no longer packs, it stays on the ground. That means that the rebound speed is just right. If the rebound is too fast, which means you don't have enough in it, Then what'll happen, it'll follow the terrain just fine because it follows the ground and comes out just plenty speed. But as it comes in and it starts to compress halfway up this whoop, before it's fully compressed, it'll start to buck the car. And then the car comes off like this, lands into the next one, gets a run at it, and has this kicking that is common with too fast or rebound. Hopefully that is kind of giving you a feel for it. Now, if you have that situation, then you would start to put more rebound in, clockwise on the rebound, slowing this down, because what was happening when the rebound's too fast, as this is compressing, it wants to allow the shock to extend. Rebound is too fast. If you slow it down, then this will stay compressed just long enough to make it over the whoop and come back. That rebound is very hard to explain to someone when it comes to the seat of the pants. You're not going to feel that very well. If it's really bad when you go through the whoops, then the engine RPM is going to rev up in between every single whoop. It's not going to be just butter through the whoops and brrr. It's going to be wing, wing, wing in RPM at all times, and it's going to hurt every time you hit the face of a whoop. That's a sign of too much rebound or packing, so or speed it up with the adjuster. If it is bucking, but only if it bucks on the way up the whoop, not at the top or after, but on the way up, it's starting to extend already. That's a sign of rebound being too fast. I know we're going to have a pile of questions on this stuff. We'll get to compression here next. What do you got, Mitch?
A couple, actually. Let's see. B-Right 412, is it common for packing to occur and the car stay level?
It is. Typically, when cars pack, the cars are always level because there's nothing basically that can buck the car off the face of the whoop. Usually a packing car rides flat. But the engine's through the roof, it's on the limiter, it's back down. It's just hit smack because the tire's never on the ground. I mean, imagine the back tire's off the ground and you floor it, it's going to rev up and hit the limiter, come back down finally. Usually it's flat and level, but when it comes off a whoop and hits the next one, it freaking hurts because the tire's already packed up in there. More questions?
Caps JM, can the rebound be adjusted on all X3s?
Yes, all X3s have, actually all RSs, right? So all X3 RSs have rebound adjusters. The DSs and base models do not.
Some DSs do.
Which DSs?
DSC adjuster DS has a rebound. The 3-position switch does not.
Okay, well, basically Mitch is informing me different models of DSs have a rebound adjuster, but it's an upgraded DS, basically, is what it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
So now let's go to compression. If we can move forward, we'll come back and answer rebound questions if we can, okay? Now, compression. Remember, your ride height is set perfect. You've got crossover ring in the right spot, and all we're doing is adjusting compression. Pretty much whoops are never going to be a low speed adjuster. That's a small little adjuster. Whoops are pretty much never going to be that little screw adjuster for compression. That's big whoops, or really anything a foot tall or bigger, are going to be high speed. It's going to be strictly the bigger nut. Now, here is a car with perfect rebound, following terrain just fine. It's not bucking. As it comes up, it's halfway up and it stops the compression cycle. This is no longer compressing. It's halfway up and it starts to kick off. This falls out and it kind of recovers, but halfway up it kicks off again. That means that your compression adjuster is set too stiff. It's not accepting the whole whoop on the face of the whoop, and as it leaves that ramp, it hasn't used all the suspension to accept it, which means it's getting a compression buck off. Typically, compression bucks don't get out of control. Compression bucks don't end up doing this and getting worse and worse. Compression bucks usually give you a little bit of a kick and it recovers, a little bit of a kick and then it recovers. So the opposite, if you're coming through the whoops, rebound is perfect, but the compression's set too soft, it comes through, it blows right all the way up through, it's completely bottomed out, and right at the top there's no more room for this suspension to travel. It's sitting on the bump stop on the shock and it kicks because it's fully compressed. And then in the air the rebound comes out, barely can follow, sort of follows at the end, blows right through this one and kicks at the end. and then does it again and does it again, and typically this gets worse at the end. A too soft or softly adjusted compression on high speed that bottoms out at the top of the whoop can easily be mistaken for a rebound problem. So that's why it's very hard for us to communicate to someone, hey, just adjust the rebound and it'll take care of your bucking. Sometimes the car might be sitting too low in ride height and it'll blow right through it in the whoop and buck off of it because it's completely bottomed out in the whoop. It's used too much of its travel. So in that scenario, then you would adjust the compression stiffer. So it used to blow through it. Now if you stiffen the system up, there's more resistance to this compression stroke. So it doesn't allow it to hit the bottom out stage when it's at the top of the whoop. Car stays level and comes back down. Hard to tell people that by stiffening the car, it might actually ride a whole lot smoother. But that's true, because if the thing's bottoming out all the way in every single whoop, it would completely ride smoother just by stiffening the system a little bit. All right, compression, adjustment, questions. You got anything, Mitch?
It's along those lines. B-Right412, it seems that everyone tunes based on whoops. If you dial it in on whoops, does that make it ride level on most other surfaces?
So that's why we'd use whoops as a baseline. If you can get a car to go through the whoops planted and level, typically you're in the ballpark when it comes to spring rate choice. You're in the ballpark when it comes to compression and rebound. You can just adjust it one way or the other to do other things. If you don't do whoops very much and all you do is dune and it's G out to G out, but you're duning, typically all you're gonna do is run the system a little stiffer in both compression adjusters and a little bit more rebound than you would in the whoops. But you can always adjust it back and get the whoops just right. So that's usually how we do it. We'll tune for whoops because you have enough adjustment if the whoops are right to do other directions, okay? Just duning or maybe just trail. So, I'm sorry, Chase, I am gonna ask you a question. Ooh. What was it that you had to say?
I just wanted to point out that James Daman Y92 hashtag yes Chase.
Yes Chase, oh no.
I got one from Jake Barner, says, I'll take Chase's job. I want to work 1 hour a day and I got an iPhone too. Hashtag I'm qualified.
I think that he might have more qualifications than Chase. Hashtag no Chase. More questions.
Jeff Christopherson 9, being into Polaris Turbo S dynamic shocks do not have a rebound adjustment. When you do the internals, are you making changes to the rebound stack for dune/desert riding?
So the question is, since Dynamics don't have a rebound adjuster, what are we doing to change that? We can change it a lot. Not only do we change rebound valving on the piston, but we can make effect and changes in the bypass tube of that shock if it's a bypass Dynamics. Of course, some of them are not. We can manipulate that rebound control as well. Yes, we do make rebound changes on all the shocks that we touch on the internals. The reason is we can optimize rebound speed in both the small chop and fully compressed bump rebound, which is basically two different places that you want to control rebound in a different way. We do that on the inside every time we touch them.
Rob Bruker, is there a baseline setting for Fox shocks with your spring kit X3 XRS Max 2019?
If the internals on your car with our spring kit are stock, I would start with the compression adjustments all the way loose. That's both high and low speed. The reason is you've got a lot of compression valving in that car and a stiff bypass tube if it's bone stock. So I would start soft. I would drive the car. If you can bottom the car out while you drive it in your favorite places at your speed, then I would turn the high speed into it until it stops bottoming. So basically sneak up on the adjustments from all the way soft, stiffening it slightly until it stops bottoming out. Rebound, I would run all the way out, all the way fast. There's too much rebound valving in the typical stock RS shock. Any more, Mitch?
Actually, 150 King, when you guys finish building the new race car, will you guys be selling the current race car or using it as a pre-runner?
The current race car, when we build the new race car, the current race car we're probably not selling. I think we're going to end up running that one too. We might end up throwing Mitch in that car and let him run the series, or we might throw Ernie in it or let both of them switch off. A couple of the races during the series, San Felipe 250 and the UTV World Championships run on the same weekend. Kind of need two cars to run both. So I think we're going to keep it for that reason. I already have a pre-runner, and I'm pretty happy with that car, so it's going to stay.
I think that's a pretty dynamic duo there, Ernie and Mitch.
Hashtag no Chase. I think that Ernie and Mitch would be a great package in the car. We just don't need a Chase's opinion on that. Okay, hey, if you guys don't have any more questions on this stuff, I thought you might have a pile, because compression and rebound is kind of a bitch to explain. A lot of times you can do this by the seat of your pants. Typically it takes a tuned butt cheek to do that, and that's why we are in business. Otherwise, you guys need to have some video to be able to see what's going on and adjust accordingly, and slow motion is a must. Now that we've gone through all that, you guys have more questions, just throw them in the comments on these videos afterwards. This is going to be up on YouTube and also on Facebook, which I don't have or watch. But you guys leave any questions on that and we'll respond to it. Before I sign off, Mitch, it looks like you have a
question. Jake Barner, where do I go to make donations for your race team?
Oh, man.
And when's our next race, Justin?
Okay, so donations for the race team, man. I think if you visit us at a race, we will put you to work and we'll take free labor. How's that? And we'll even give you a t-shirt. It might even say hashtag no chase on it with the team. Our first race, you know, Best in Desert says we're going to have the Silver State race next month. We're like 50% confident that that's going to get moved. That date probably won't happen, which will make the first race for us Baja 500 in the middle of July. So it's going to be hot as hell, and we're probably going to have guys on dirt bikes dropping like flies in that race from dehydration. It's going to be crazy, but we love the 500 and we usually do good there, so hopefully we do this year too. Anything else?
We got a couple people wanting to go live here.
Get somebody live so we can give away a shirt.
All right. What's going on, man? What can we do for you?
Am I on?
You're on. You're live, brother.
Perfect. I got a question about new to the side-by-side gig. I got a Turbo Max 2020. It's the base model, so I've only got the 3 adjustments on the top. I've done the Fox tune, and I still feel like I get beat up in the whoops. Is there anything I can do with that besides getting a spring kit or maybe new shocks that I can mess with now since I'm still new to it?
So, man, since that base model only has 3 adjustments on compression and factory internals when it comes to the valving and that and the piston aren't very good, also the spring kit is not very good stock. At this point, if you've got the Fox tune, it's about the best it's going to get. The only thing you can do from here out is start improving what's on it by buying a spring kit and then doing the shock internals. You're going to see a drastic change from the way that DS Max is to where it goes when you start doing this stuff. Spring kit's going to improve the whoops by 40%. It's a huge change. It's also going to be more plush and not beat you up. Anything after that, shock internals make it butter through the whoops. You'll be able to keep your foot in it and not worry about it. Sand Highway and Glamis is floored the whole time in that car, and in the desert, typical whoops are not an issue. So I think at this point you're going to have to spend a couple bucks.
Perfect. That's what I needed.
Hey, give us your shirt size and color that you want. After we're done, we'll send it to you today.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right on, man. Anybody else?
I think we can end it on this one if you want, Justin. Cave598 says he lives in Vegas and having a rear suspension issue. Who at the shop can he call to have conversations about troubleshooting?
So if you call the shop and you ask for Ernie or Mitch, Mitch right behind the camera right here can walk you through everything. The guys up front probably can get some of the simple things done for you. That's going to be Mike, JT, and Milo. But if you've got some really complicated questions, maybe some video you can show us, we can walk you through it with Mitch and Ernie.
Okay, sorry. We'll do one more.
Okay, one more.
Gabby Guzman, how do you account for ride height in the shop in regards to driver passenger weight? Do you use sandbags?
Yes, so how do we account for driver and passenger weight when we do ride heights in the shop? So we have a list of what that person weighs and their spouse or whoever's in the right seat. That's on all of our shock sheets when we do the work. So we make sure that that exact amount is in the car when we set ride heights. If we've got a 230-pound guy in that car for a driver, then we're going to grab one of our guys that's 230. If not, then we're going to throw sandbags on top of a 200-pound guy, and you're going to get exactly the weight that you have listed on your sheet. We are going to duplicate in that car. Now, you know what? Everybody gains weight after, so we might set this thing perfect when it leaves. It might be an inch low after you guys get through Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the cool dinners and you throw on a little bit more weight. That's why they're adjustable. So you can go ahead and adjust that spring kit up a little bit, raise the ride height, and keep it perfect. So over there, there's our 250-pound sandbag on the right. There's our 260-pound sandbag on the left. And these guys are jumping in the car to set ride heights at all times. So yeah, you're the stunt drivers for ride heights.
What do we call it? We use the big. We're using the big.
Gotta borrow the big.
Gotta borrow the big. That would be Ryan or Savino. So just to answer your question, that's our sandbags when we duplicate this stuff. And about the lightest guy we got around here is about 150 pounds. So if it's a light driver, then that's what we use. All right, we're about done. You guys, thank you very much for tuning in today. Hopefully the shock adjustments helped you in some way. You can get out there and make your car ride better with what you have just by setting adjustments. For any questions, give us a call, 623-217-4959. If you want to buy products, go to our website, shocktherapist.com. Take it easy.